Hi everybody, welcome back. And if this is your first time, welcome. My name's Max Haddad, and today I'm going to be talking about why I stopped going to 12-step meetings. Now, before we get started, a couple things to address. A few of you on Twitter sent me some really great articles or just ideas, but a lot of times I got the ideas from the article. I want to let you know that I'm going to be addressing the things that you sent me in due time, but I have to sufficiently research the materials that you sent me before I can form a decent opinion on it, one that I'm comfortable with and feel strongly about. And secondly, before I start talking about the 12-step meetings, this is representative only of my experience with AA and NA in my area. Okay, this is not me saying 12-step meetings are a cult, they're evil, they're not going to help you. That's not what I'm saying. There are plenty of people angry at AA for not working all over YouTube. If you want to watch one of those videos, literally probably just type in AA didn't work for me, and you're gonna, it's a plethora, okay, if you want to hear somebody pissed about it. That's not my case. So just understand that I'm not trying to tell you what is wrong or what. I'm just telling you this is why I stopped going, okay? That was not well spoken, but I think you get what I'm saying. So I started going to AA when I was 15. I'm now 30. Was I 15? I might have even been 14. The reason that I started going is I got arrested in high school, freshman year, for paraphernalia, like pot paraphernalia. They suspected that I was using, which basically anybody wearing a hoodie got, randomly drug tested, which whatever, it's fine. Also 16 years ago. And so they brought me into their office. While I was in their office, they brought a dog to smell my locker. It was a trained dog, not just like a Chihuahua. And they found in my jacket pocket a piece of tinfoil, like a tiny piece of tinfoil with some, resin on it. They didn't have to send it to a lab. I'm sure they were like, what's this? And I was like, pot! I didn't have any wherewithal as far as protecting myself from legal ramifications. I thought I was going to get out of trouble, obviously like in trouble, but not in legal trouble. Turns out if the counselor brings you down to her office, a cop is there, and you tell on yourself, they're still going to charge you just as if you didn't do that. So advice to you 13-year-olds, that's not what I'm saying. It was probably good that they caught me then because my family immediately became aware that Max is using. I don't think I was using like an addict. Yeah, that's not true because normal kids don't bring pot to school. I don't think it was way out of hand just yet, okay? But it was on the way. So I'm going to be charged with possession. They weren't going to charge me with it under like school grounds, which makes it a felony. It was going to be a misdemeanor. Still not awesome. And preemptively, my lawyer thought that I should not only go to rehab, for that marijuana detox, and but that I should go to AA. So I start going to partial hospitalization, which is, I mentioned it before, about 13 hours in. You go home and sleep, go back to rehab. So it's just cheaper, saves them on beds, for people that really need them, that are going to have seizures and stuff like that. Not for just kids that make bad decisions. And yeah. And, I thought I was serious about getting clean. I realized in post that I just didn't want to be in trouble. Being in trouble felt bad. Disappointing my parents felt bad. I wanted that bad feeling to go away. And the only way that I knew how to do that was get clean. So I start going to AA meetings. I'm in a medium-sized town, but very close in proximity to where AA originated in Akron, Ohio. So there's just meetings everywhere. There's a club. When I lived then, there was a club literally 10 minutes from where I lived, and 30 minutes from where I lived, and 40 minutes from where I lived, plus meetings at churches. And the clubs had meetings at literally 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 5:30 p.m., 6 p.m., 7:30 p.m., and sometimes 8 and 9 p.m. meetings. There were meetings all day, every day. As far as time and availability being an excuse, it was not one of mine. It couldn't be. Some people don't have access to 12-step meetings in America. And when I say America, I mean the USA. Like, it's not convenient for everyone everywhere. Most places it is nowadays, but there are countries where it's not available. Obviously, other countries aren't in the United States of America. I get that. I know that I spoke ambiguously. So I go. I was lucky that the people I met first were not the people that I came to know later. That'll make sense soon. I met an old man named Hiram. He wouldn't care. Hiram Hash, look him up. Hiram Hash, it's Alcoholics Anonymous. Don't say their last name. That's not what the anonymous part of AA means, and I can explain that too. Hiram Hash, and he introduced myself as Hiram, like the shit you drink, Hash, like the shit you smoke. And he was so wonderful. Still is wonderful. Great guy. Extends his hand out to newcomers, especially young people, not in a creepy way, in a loving, let me make sure that they have a great, safe, comfortable, compassionate first step into a 12-step meeting kind of way. So I meet him. I meet a bunch of other people. I start going. I get a home group, which is a meeting that you attend every week. If it's a weekly meeting, most meetings are, without excuse, unless it's an absolute emergency. But even on your worst days, you're supposed to show up. It's to hold you accountable, that sort of thing. I get that. I get a sponsor. Really, a sponsor got me. He walked up and said, I'll be your sponsor. A sponsor is somebody that helps you work through the 12 steps. And I started doing the program, going to meetings, calling my sponsor, working the steps. I need to drink water. What else was I doing? Oh, going to rehab. So I stayed sober for 9 months and I relapsed. It's not AA's fault that I relapsed, okay? Here's what I was told my first run through AA. You have a brain that is working against you and have been immoral, acted like an asshole, and it's time to clean up your act. And the only way to do that is by taking the advice of us, people that have come before you, gotten our heads straight. And if you operate based on your own volition, you're doomed. If you operate based on ours, the suggestions we give you, the suggestions laid out in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, their basic text, you'll be fine. So, to the best of a 15-year-old's ability, I did that. Exceptions were made. You shouldn't sneak out to see your girlfriend. Oops, you shouldn't flunk your classes. You should try hard. Oops, like stuff like that. But as far as sobriety went, I wasn't, skipping meetings. I wasn't trying to smoke pot on the side or anything like that. I treated it and took it very seriously. So every time I would relapse, this became a cycle. I was asked either by my sponsor or people in the meetings, regurgitating something that they had heard. What is it that you aren't doing? What are you not being honest about? What truth have you not been forthcoming with? What behavior are you taking part in on the side that you're ashamed of? And it became a cycle. If I haven't said it, by the way, AA works for plenty of people. The cycle being, I would get sober, I would relapse. I would come back to AA, they would welcome me with open arms and ask, what did you do wrong this time? Okay? Over and over and over again. From the age of 14, when I first started going, to the age of 26. When I caught the pharmacy robbery charge, and the last conversation that I had with a sponsor, I actually had a female sponsor at the time. They say you're not supposed to have a female sponsor because it complicates things, and it's like, not if I'm not trying to have sex with every woman I see. So, sorry, that's how you are, but I can have a platonic relationship. And this is a woman who had been sober for 40 plus years. She'd been my sponsor for a while, through a relapse, getting sober, and then robbing this pharmacy, okay, for about a year and a half. I called her. We had gotten a new dog, the dog being Mara that I've mentioned, that we got basically just to distract me from addiction, hopefully to help me stay sober until I was sentenced to go to prison. A desperation dog. Lovely, wonderful dog, now living at a loving, wonderful home. And I called my sponsor, as I did every day, told her we had gotten a dog, and she was so stern, more stern than I had ever heard her. Stern was not her MO. Kind, soft-spoken, loving was her MO, but she had clearly had enough. I think she was feeling like she couldn't help me, which I believe is true. And I think she was tired of me. That's not the right way to put it. I think she wanted to emphasize the severity of the situation I was in by ignoring everything I was saying that wasn't related to me getting and staying sober. Okay, so she had a ploy here, but it hurt my feelings. I told her about the dog. She literally ignored me. She said, okay, did you go to a meeting today? Like that. I get it. She was doing what she felt was best, but it hurt my feelings. It's not her fault it hurt my feelings, whatever. It just did. So I stopped calling her. I was over it. I had already been thinking for a while that, gosh, I feel like I have been giving AA my all for a very long time and still relapsing. And yet, when I return, though feeling I have given it my all, they continue to ask, what are you not doing? What are you not being honest about? Why do you keep screwing up? You're sick. You know you're sick. Why do you keep screwing up? What are you not being honest about? And I thought about it every time I got sober. What am I not being honest about? What am I doing that I'm ashamed of? Now, I mean, they have to be right. Right? I mean, they've stayed sober for 20 years in some cases or more. And I haven't been able to stay sober for longer than a year. So they have to be right. Terminally unique is a term that is used, I don't want to say thrown about, but it's used in AA to describe someone who feels that they are so unique that AA won't work for them. And I was at risk of being described as terminally unique for starting to wonder if maybe AA wasn't my solution. I have to close my door. Dog's barking. Okay, so mind you, no one was saying this antagonistically. No one was suggesting I was failing antagonistically. They were always saying it with care and kindness in their voices. Meanwhile, I felt worse and worse and worse every relapse, further reinforcing this notion that I am screwing up somewhere. I had never, ever, not once, attempted to stay sober on my own because I had been told since I was 14 that it can't be done. AA is not the only solution, they would say, but it's the only one I've found that works for me, talking about themselves. You're welcome to go find another one if you want. But we're here if you want to come back. If that doesn't work out, whatever, you know? And so, even in moments when I thought, okay, so maybe there's something other than AA, I always thought there had to be something. There had to be something other than me. There had to be AA, 12, NA, God, some therapy. Like there had to be something outside of myself to stay sober. So I never tried to do it by myself. Not once. And in moments of white knuckling it, when I was simply an AA member refusing to go to meetings, in the back of my head, there was a voice saying, you are doomed because you're not doing AA correctly. You're not working a healthy program. And then I go to prison. I go to prison. The worst possible thing I can think of doing is using, because it's spitting in the face of my parents' love, my girlfriend's love, and it's taking a big old number 2 on any future I could have. And any effort I'm putting into my day incarcerated is a waste if I use. I couldn't think of anything more full, heaping, bursting at the seams with self-loathing than using, because it had gotten me to where I was in life. So I didn't use. The whole time, I didn't even smoke a cigarette in prison. I didn't chew tobacco. I didn't have a nip off the old tomato wine made in a trash bag. No, sir. I stayed sober the whole time. And when people would try to give me drugs for something, like, hey, you've got food, I'll pay you 2 for 1. I'll give you Katie, spice, synthetic marijuana, but not really because it's lethal. I'll give you 2 for 1. You give me $2 worth of ramen, I'll give you $4 worth of drug, and I would say no. So I wouldn't even use it economically. I didn't partake at all. There were not meetings available where I was at. I went to a mandated class, like a drug educational class, and the lady told us, stay away from the hard drugs, stay away from the drugs, stay away from the hard drugs. My son smokes pot and drinks beer and goes to concerts, and it works for him. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this box checked and never think about what I'm hearing here ever again. Yet I remain sober. Slowly but surely, proving to myself that I could indeed do it on my own. So I'm doing it on my own. I'm learning to believe in myself. I'm learning how to self-soothe, because it's sink or swim in prison. And then there's this seed that had been planted pre-prison that, boy, AA hasn't worked for me yet. That wasn't very nice of my sponsor to ignore me. Whatever, but it wasn't a resentment anymore. Initially, I think I was just angry at her for doing that, for making me feel dismissed. But it just became thought. I just was pondering AA. And I realized that AA's dichotomy is, you are a sick person who has acted poorly and immorally, and it's time to get well. And I am sure that there are other people like me in AA, okay? So I'm not saying that I am everybody in AA's one way or whatever. But what I realized is, my problem was not that I was a sick, immoral person that thought they were hot shit, but I was a good, decent, loving person who, for whatever reason, could not stop picking up drugs. It had almost nothing to do with choices I was making outside of picking up, okay? So it is not AA's fault that the solution they're offering doesn't solve the problem I have, okay? So again, not saying AA's bad. I'm saying it's a great solution if you have the problem they are fixing, all right? Hi, I'd like a sandwich. Sir, this is a piano shop. Extra cheese, please. That doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Does it not making sense make sense? And so I got out of prison. And I did have a slip. I've mentioned that before. And I don't like the word slip because I think it's a euphemism, because you're dancing with the devil, toying with lethality when you pick up and you're somebody like myself. And also, if you've attended NA meetings, they will tell you over and over again, at least in my area, there's no such thing as a slip, blah, 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 as a relapse, blah, blah. So you get into the semantics. Anyways, I screwed up, I picked up, and then what I did differently than ever before was, instead of trying to hide it from everyone in my life until I self-imploded and had to use or die, I told on myself. I told the cops where the drugs were. And so they got it. And then I went to jail. And then I get the house arrest much later, having stayed sober, and still have it. There's been no use since then. And months and months and months, actually almost a year later, they come and arrest me for this time when I told on myself. And I go in front of the judge and I say, I don't say anything really. The lawyers say, he told on himself. Even the prosecutor is saying, why is he here? He told on himself. And then I'm like, it's your call. I'm here because the judge didn't say bring him here. You did. And then everyone from work release, I say everyone, my caseworker and the woman, the wonderful, 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 fantastic woman in charge of work release, I'm keeping her name private, came to court for me. They didn't have to, and said he told on himself. We've never, in all of our years doing this, ever seen somebody tell on themselves. I didn't need to give my everything to a 12-step group. I needed to give my everything to myself. Since I started going to AA at a young age, I calcified that belief that I was garbage and that I needed help. And the truth was the opposite. I am good. And I am the help that I need. I have to give it to myself. I'm not trying to enlighten anybody right now. I'm just saying I had to choose to stop believing that I was doomed without a divine or human intervention. I had to stop believing that. And as soon as I stopped believing that, and it wasn't what I just said, were you listening? I had to go to prison and prove to myself that I could stay sober. It wasn't that kind of choice. So here I am. I stopped going to AA because AA stopped being my straw I was grasping at, my only glimmer of hope. And it had started being, and it continues to be, a thing that I am happy to take advantage of if I find that what I am doing and have been doing seems to not be working. I've mentioned before, I'm still in contact with people in 12-step programs that I would feel at home even returning to a meeting if I just wanted to be social with other people that have struggled with substance abuse disorder. But I think that it is antiquated to assume that everyone uses for the same reason. I think it is looking at life and this problem, I'll say, not even life, it doesn't have to be that grandiose, as too black or white. It's just not that simple. Whew. If you've gotten this far in the video, gosh, dang it, why don't you just leave a sub and a like and a comment. If you're an AA member or an NA member, please hear all the times I said this is not about you, because it isn't. What's his face? Slaughterhouse. What's his name? He's from Indiana. Not Mark Twain. Kurt Vonnegut. Jiminy Christmas. They kind of look alike, honestly. Look up Kurt Vonnegut. Look up Mark Twain. Maybe I'll show him on screen. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Said the greatest invention of the 20th century is Alcoholics Anonymous. That doesn't mean it is, but I think it's definitely up there because it has helped plenty of people. And I think the people that I'm most grateful it helped are the people that without it would have no one. Because there are people out there struggling with problems that I've struggled with, that you've struggled with, that have zero people and no home. They have nothing. and so they suffer alone. So I would never say that AA is bad and a cult and a waste of your time, and it's just trying to get you to believe in God. Well, congratulations on figuring it all out. But it's helped some people for sure. Take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.